Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the MACE Podcast. I'm your host, Marco Macente, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today's episode is special as I'm interviewing and meeting Mirko Minenza from Czech Republic. Mirko is a talent professional player who was able to envision his passion in his favorite job since he was a child. Professionally speaking, he's a business strategy manager at Antal, an international recruitment firm aiming to help video gaming companies hiring talents in Europe and US. Born in Rome, he got his master's degree in economics and he wanted to become a gaming headhunter for two simple reasons. First, he wants to pursue his passion, and secondly, he wants to bring a positive impact on people's lives, improving their personal and professional life. He started as an headhunter in Prague, working mostly in chemical and pharmaceutical industry. He's currently leading a cross-national team of recruiters in Czech Republic and Poland to support gaming companies hire cool people to create cool games. We will focus on talent acquisition, on the trends in the gaming industry, which is pretty particular, and of course, we will explore what 2024 is bringing to this industry. Please enjoy our conversation. Hi, Mirko. Welcome to the Maze Podcast. How are you?
Hey Marco, all good, all good. How about you?
I'm fine, thanks a lot. And Mirko, I've already shared with the audience a little bit of your background and your experience. And of course, you are a recruiter based in Prague, in Republic, and you are leading a cross-functional team there in the gaming industry. We know that the pandemic has changed a lot, many industries across the globe, and I'm curious to see what impact had the pandemic on the gaming one.
All right, sure. Generally speaking, the pandemic had like a super impactful way, basically on all industries, right? And this on a macroeconomic level, we can generally think about it as something that basically usually negatively impact a lot of sectors, such as, for example, the food and beverage one. You know, if you have a restaurant, you actually had to shut down the activity for a long time, and it was some kind of, disaster business-wise. But the cool aspect, I would say, and it is kind of diverse on this regard on the gaming industry, is the fact that basically it happened quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
How so? You're gonna ask, But well, it's super easy. Basically, we were forced to stay at home, so a lot of people that were not really into games or they were not gaming like as much as they were doing before, they actually started to play again quite a lot. So as you can imagine, the revenues for gaming companies skyrocketed during the pandemic, because a lot of new players came in or old ones played more. So basically the demand for video games raised a lot. And so gaming companies made a lot of money, or eventually, they grew quite intensively. So it was some kind of like new tendency during pandemic. And this basically happened worldwide. What happened then from a, let's say, professional point of view and hiring point of view, from an HR world, that companies said, okay, we are basically expanding, we are growing a lot, and this is super interesting. So we need more people to make even more games and, to keep growing as we're doing. And so basically happened that there was some kind of like overhiring phenomenon. So during pandemic, while like a lot of industry were laying off people, gaming companies were growing. But then the side effect came in lately, literally nowadays, in 2023 and during the first half of the year that we are running right now. Because when the situation gets stabilized and like we were able to finally go back to our normal lives again, well, the demand for games came back to, I would say, normal standards, right? So all the company that overhired during the COVID and the pandemic time basically got in a situation where the revenues basically dropped down to the previous levels, but all the people that they hired, they couldn't keep them anymore because the cost was too high. So they started actually firing people. And this is kind of a massive thing because like more than 15,000 people lost their job in the last 9 months. So I would say it was quite a contra tendency compared to the other world. And we are now observing the effects after a couple of years. That's interesting though.
Yeah. So can we say that actually what we are seeing right now is the massive layoffs of what is pretty much the global trend that we see in the gaming industry. But at the same time, I wanted to get your insight on the phenomenon that it was about the Great Resignation, because I spoke about this phenomenon in other podcasts, and I wanted to understand pretty much your perspective. Is the Great Resignation a phenomenon that you saw during the pandemic, speaking in your industry, or it is more about the layoff from a company perspective that is happening and that happened?
So speaking of like the pandemic world in the gaming world, I would say that during the pandemic, companies were hiring quite a lot. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, market was candidate driven, you know, like if I was like a good, let's say profile in the gaming world, I had the chance to choose between all the companies.
Yeah.
So of course, companies were fighting to get the best talents over there.
Mm-hmm.
While right now it's kind of the opposite, you know, because like with so many laying off, there are not so many opportunities as before. So like people are, let's say, they can't choose that much. At least the possibilities are way lower. So I would say that the Great Resignation surely affected the gaming industry as well, but mostly back then. Right now we are in some kind of the opposite spot, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to observe how things can change rapidly, I would say.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, definitely, definitely. And let's move on, because I have another question for you, Mirko, because during our first conversation, you told me that you run different initiatives, right? And one of them is related to raising the awareness of what means entering in the job market for young students who are thinking about their careers. Can you please share with us some histories and which are the tools that, in your opinion, are the critical ones in such initiatives?
Sure. So this is like a super important thing to me because I clearly remember that when I was a student, you know, I really wanted to join the gaming world because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
massive nerd, basically. So this is something that I was always looking forward to. And I remember that at least in Rome, it was kind of hard to find a career path as a student, you know, that led me to this industry. So
Yeah.
right now, one of the things that, you know, it matters a lot to me is basically trying to do my part to help students on this regard. So basically, in cooperation with my company, we decided to have a new initiative. And the first, let's say, episode, we can call it, was with the Prague Business School, where basically there was a speech on which I was trying to, you know, share some insight about what does it mean to transition into the professional endeavor as a student. And more specifically, of course, speaking about what does it mean to work in the gaming industry, because
Yeah.
I would say that it's not that easy, you know, to get an image on this regard if you're like not having such tools. So it was super cool because, you know, the students, like especially the nerd ones, loved it. And basically the idea was to share insight about how to create a CV which is tailored to the gaming industry. What are the roles that are most in demand? So what a student can start focusing on while studying, you know, courses or events to attend, or you know, even networking with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this kind of stuff that I wish I had such information when I was a student. And I believe it could be super beneficial to start while studying to take a look at this thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I made the mistake to really get into it once I got my master degree. And I realized that I could have done it way earlier with better outcomes, right? So that was the idea.
Yeah, so we can say that pretty much the experience plays a pivotal role, right? When speaking about the students that would like to enter in the job market. So really, the takeaway is to really spot the light on the experience from an internship point of view or from an entry level point of view that, of course, can benefit the career at the early stage in order to make sure, in order to let the young students and the students that would like to enter the job market even better when they speak about their career. What do you think?
Absolutely. I totally agree with this vision. And actually, this is something that I strongly recommend as a student, you know, because I made the mistake to focus maybe too much on getting high grades during exam, but
Mm-hmm.
not trying to, you know, start putting more shoes on the professional world. It can happen with internship, with courses, with
Yeah.
every kind of, you know, opportunity that you have to see what's the real world in a professional sphere. So instead of like focusing too much on the grade itself, which of course is important, but I strongly recommend to give it a shot with internship because it's surely a learning opportunity, but also it's fun. It's like, you know, having the chance to meet new people and learning for real concrete topics. So yeah, definitely I would recommend to don't do the same mistake as I did, and really trying to look for these kind of opportunities as soon as possible.
Yeah, I can witness for that because also when I was a student, I remember that some universities like my one were driving some initiatives, and you can find some internships even within the university with some projects or mini projects, let's say, that a university can run on its own. And so yeah, let's keep an eye on that and don't take these things for granted. Yeah, I would say. Let's stay focused on that topic, Mirko, because speaking about the young generation and how students can approach the business world better, which are, in your opinion, the best practices and tools that should be developed to ensure that students can transition from the universities to the business world better with the right awareness or of who they are?
All right, sure. On this regard, I would say that definitely one of the greatest things that a student can put on is starting networking early. And what does it
Hmm.
mean networking, especially for a student? I would say that it's super important to start to spread your name and try to look for mentors, for maybe more senior people or people who are already working in the field that you would like to get in touch with them and simply asking, hey, look, I just would like to do what you're doing, and it's amazing what you're doing, you know. So I would be very interested in learning about it, you know. And this can happen in a lot of like social medias. LinkedIn, of course, is the best ones per us, but for example, for the gaming world, it can be through Discord, Reddit. There are millions of channels where you can connect with people. So as
Yeah.
a student, I strongly recommend to being active on these communities to learn, but also to get in touch with people, because this will, you know, bring some opportunity that you will not even like realize at first, but it will have a super big impact in the future. And if we are gonna look at this topic on a broader way, I would say that we should perhaps also develop further relationship between three institutions, which is, of course, at first the student itself, but also the connection between students and universities and companies, because
Mm.
there are plenty of initiatives that are running right now. But I believe that if, like, as a society, we move towards a stronger and deeper connection between these three entities, we can say it will, all the parties will benefit out of it quite a lot.
Yeah.
For example, a company that decides to implement a program in cooperation with universities to have some interns, you know, you will save a lot of money on hiring, because you will have like a talent pool that you're going to develop and grow for, like, basically quite, let's say, a cheap cost, because you don't have to find them and you can nurture them internally. And also in terms of employer branding, you know, a company which promotes initiative like that will be seen as a good one on the market, for good reason, of course.
Hmm.
Same goes for universities, which, of course, if they have like plenty of cooperation with companies, they can advertise it and say, guys, if you're gonna join our course, then we will be able to eventually help you transition towards good companies right afterwards, you know. So even the university name will be boosted. And of course, for students, it's like a gold mine, you know, because
Mm.
if they have a chance to, after the course, directly had the chance to like take a look and eventually work in these companies, it's a win-win for everyone. So surely, as a student, networking and start looking for opportunities early is important, but at the same time, I wish for the future that we are gonna transition towards deeper connection between all the entities, because basically it's beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, so we speak about more collaboration, we speak about more communication, and we speak about yeah, more networking because the networking is also what led us be here together, right? So thanks to the networking, we were able to got in touch and of course be here in order to record this episode together. So I completely agree with you. So, and another topic that came up in my mind on that regard is the topic of the communities, right? When networking on when establishing new bridges, we can find new communities of students, of people that believe that can share the same vision or the same interest or the same passion, like the video gaming one, right? And putting the spotlight on such a kind of communities, I think that would be beneficial for companies, for universities, right, in order to foster such a kind of collaboration. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes. And this is such a super cool topic. And something that I'm noticing quite intensively, especially in the recent days, I can really take as an example the gaming world, because yes, indeed, we experienced it quite a tough time recently with all this layoff and this kind of like bad times for the industry. But I'm noticing even on LinkedIn that there is a super strong connection between
Hmm.
gaming professionals,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are willing to help for free. Basically, there is one guy that I'm like willing to mention named Amir, which is basically created a document for free, a free tool to connect people like professional and companies, and more than 3,000 people worldwide found a job through it for free, which
Yeah.
is something that just leave me speechless, because this is super valuable thing, and there are plenty of people that are doing the same. So the sense of community, it's super important, and basically you can find those on all social medias, and the gaming one is super strong in this regard, and I'm kind of proud of it. I feel
Yeah.
in it, and it's something that make me feel good. So definitely I would say it's super. I totally agree with your vision, and
Yeah.
that's the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. And I found also that people are more keen on sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, because if there is something that the pandemic has taught us is really that um, something can happen just one day to one another, and people are not afraid of sharing their stories, their histories, their background, in order to be visible, to be vulnerable, even sometime, because we know that we are humans, right? And finding the common ground on the human things is definitely what can make the difference. This is my personal opinion, having seen all what came through during these years.
Totally agree with that.
Now, wrapping up today, Mirko, and thinking about the 2024, and what's next for you, Mirko? What is the 2024 bringing to you?
All right, I'm gonna say that I have like plenty of stuff running through that I will love to basically spoiler a little, and I can say something. So to be fair, like I like to try a lot of stuff, and the next one that I would like to put into is gonna be my own podcast. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that I've been thinking about a lot, quite a lot, and it's gonna basically be a podcast where I will focus on, try to help game dev professionals to find a new job with career resources, with like opinion from experts, tips and tricks. So basically everything related to the professional sphere of the gaming world in a chill
Yeah.
way from their perspective. So we'll love to put into reality. Let's say stay tuned for that. And regarding the other project, of course, keep trying to speak with university to spread awareness about what does it mean to transition into the professional sphere, and also eventually in the gaming one, although right now maybe it's not the best time to do so, but still giving the possibility to choose is super important.
Yeah.
And as well, like a lot of travels. I'm expecting to do some travels both for work and for eventually my personal development. So a mix between all of them could be cool. So yeah, but definitely the podcast is the thing that I'm mostly excited about, and
Yeah.
yeah, let's see how it's gonna look like, and I can learn from the best, actually, the one that we're having.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yes, actually, we got in touch thanks to the passion that we share, right? For putting things together, putting stories together, and to make the podcast. Because of course, the podcast is about sharing stories and sharing experiences from different people around the world. So yeah, I completely agree with you, and I wish you all the best since now for your podcast and for this project that you want to realize. Because of course, I'm sure that you will get it because when there is the passion, I mean, this is the key element in order to, drive things forward. And I'm always say that the passion is what drives things forward. So I'm sure that you will get it.
Thank you so much, Marco. Yeah, like super excited about it. Let's see how it's gonna look like.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Mirko. It has been a pleasure to meet you and to share with the audience your perspectives and also your insights from the gaming industry. That is a quite interesting one because we had the possibility to analyze a little bit what happened in these few years, even after the pandemic. Please stay in touch, stay tuned because, of course, I look forward to seeing your podcast. And of course, I wish you all the best for your projects throughout this year.
Likewise, Marco. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.